Hello and welcome to the third mini pod. You might have been expecting Nick on this one, but you have me, you have Anastasia. So let's get into it. How have you all been doing? I've been busy with work, but watching a fair bit amount of tennis as well. So definitely straddling the line there of being super busy with work and then trying to keep up on tour. It can be rough, but we did it. And the first week of the Rome Masters 1000 and WTA 1000 event has been quite eventful. You know, there's definitely been some storylines here and there. I hope you've been keeping up with our social media channels where we try and keep you updated on what matches have interested us throughout the week and day. That's where you can get more sort of the as it's happening news. So follow us on socials. I'll post all the links and stuff in the description of this podcast episode. But let's get into it. What were the main storylines? I think one, obviously, which I think will just be the storyline for every tournament he plays, was Rafa Nadal's run in Rome. It wasn't as long as it was in Madrid, but he's still playing and he's still doing so injury-free, which we love because we wanted him to keep going and have the retirement he wants, really. His first match in Rome was against Zizou Bergs. Zizou Bergs is a young player who has done pretty well this year at challengers. You know, he's definitely gone on really long runs at challenger events. But there really wasn't any thought, I think, coming into this match that he would trouble Nadal. But trouble Nadal he did. He took the first set and, was playing very well. It's really nice when young players, I think, can come into a match like this against a legend and kind of stand their own. So he definitely proved that he is a player to watch this season and upcoming seasons. He's close to being in the top 100, which is great. He did win the first set, but he lost the match. He won the set, lost the match. It went to 3, and Nadal prevailed in the end because he is the veteran in this situation. But his second match was definitely tougher. I mean, going into it, I definitely didn't have any hopes at all of him even, competing, in this match. But he lost in straight sets to Hubie Hurkacz. Hubie Hurkacz is a top 10 player, the number 7 seed in this event. And it was a 1-3 loss by Nadal. And, I think this week was definitely a nice training week, I think, for him. Coming up to the French, he still, in his press, was not quite sure if he would sort of attend the French Open. Cross our fingers and our toes that he will be there, but it's good signs that he was able to at least get 2 matches out from Rome. And from one Spaniard to another, Paula Badosa is having herself a mini run in Rome. Like, who would have thunk it? I think the big thing in the news is she is no longer together with Stefanos Tsitsipas. They broke up, I think, just before the Rome Open started, if I'm correct. And here she is going on a little bit of a run. Her first round match was against Mira Andreeva, who I call that as being an easy Mira Andreeva win. And boy, was I wrong, because Paula Badosa, that we knew of, the former top 10 player, Paula Badosa, showed up and she beat Mira Andreeva in straight sets. And it was so nice to see her play with confidence again. She announced that her back injury might be something that shortens her career, according to her doctors. And that's kind of sad prognosis for someone who is still 26 years old and really was a former top 10 and has been trying to get back there since this injury. So it was nice to see her get that win. And I thought, okay, great, nice win. Let's see where she goes. Ooh, she got Emma Navarro next. I was like, ooh, that's going to be tough. She beats her in 3 sets. And then she goes on to beat Diana Schneider, a very, very good player. And now she is in the round of 16 and gets Coco Gauff tomorrow. That's going to be a must-watch match. Like, if you can get yourself to a television at around 7 a.m. Eastern, watch that match. I'm excited to see who comes out of that, because I think Paula Badosa has a lot to say and still wants to be part of the conversation. Another person having a great run in Rome and beating top 10 players is Naomi Osaka. Naomi Osaka, even when she was, in the highs of Naomi Osaka-ness, winning Grand Slams, was never a big clay court player. It was never her best surface. So it's nice to see her take it a little seriously. I know, the Olympics is coming up, so clay is super important this year because the Olympics is going to be hosted on clay at the Roland Garros location. And, she's doing great. Her first match was against Cara Burel. She beat her. Her next one was against, so far in form, Marta Kostyuk this year. And she beat her in straight sets, followed by top 10 player Daria Kazatkina. It's been quite the run, and now she is about to face Qin Wen-zhen, our little star, finalist at the finalist at the Australian Open this year. That should be quite the match. Again, tomorrow, 5 a.m. Let's watch that. Naomi Osaka against Qin Wen-zhen. That should be a must-watch as well. What else has been happening in Rome? Well, I have to bring up doubles because we here are trying to encourage more people to watch doubles, especially when you go to live tournaments. Like, I think watching doubles, getting to know the doubles players is really great. It helps fill up your day when you are at tournaments live, and it can be a really, really fun follow. And the most unexpected pairing that I could ever think of turned up at the Rome Open this year in the form of Ben Shelton and Sasha Bublik, who you could not have paid me to put that pairing together, but boy, are they electric. I saw their name come up and saw that they were playing with Felix Auger-Aliassime, the Madrid finalist, and Frances Tiafoe in their first match in the round of 32, and boy, was that fun. Like, it was so unexpected to just see them, with their little chest bumps and celebrations, and the crowd was going so wild for it. Turns out Ben Shelton is quite the star in Rome, and they definitely put on their show, a great show. Their second round match was against Sasha Zverev and Marcelo Melo. Zverev is more of a singles player, but he has played doubles with Melo for a long time, so I consider them a pretty strong doubles pair, and Sasha Bublik and Ben Shelton totally took that match as well. So exciting. I really love watching those two. I think they're a lot of fun on court, and can't wait to see who they're playing next. A little quirk, I think, in the doubles field that I am trying to find out more about. Now, I listened to, and I think I've talked about it here a few times, but I listened to a tennis podcast called Unfiltered Tennis, which one of the hosts is Calvin Betton, and he is a tennis coach, and he coaches doubles players. Specifically, he coaches one double player named Henry Patton, and Henry Patton's partner is Harry Hiliovera. They are a great doubles pair. They've been winning a lot of doubles tournaments on the challenger level, and they're just trying to make their way into the top 100, or not in the top 100, they're already there, but higher in the rankings so that they can make it into Grand Slams through a main draw. And I've been, I like following stories like that, like players who are maybe ranked lower and are trying to build their ranking to be able to make it into the Grand Slams directly. And so I've been following Patton and Hiliovera, and a topic of discussion on the Unfiltered Tennis podcast has been kind of their journey to doing that. And how hard it can be to actually get direct entry into these Masters 1000 events, because singles players are also trying to enter them as well. And, their rankings kind of bump them up the list a little bit. So it was quite surprising to me when I woke up this morning to find that they were in the draw in Rome. And what had happened was Davidovich Fokina, who was playing with Thies, both withdrew from the doubles last minute. So Healy Rivera and Patton were brought in as alternates. And I sent a little message on Twitter to Calvin Benton, kind of asking how that came about. Were they just waiting around in Rome, waiting for someone to pull out? Turns out they flew in this morning at 6 a.m. and played at 1 p.m. same day. And they unfortunately lost the match. It was, they were playing against the number one doubles players, Granollers and Zabayos. So that was a really tough draw. But at the same time, I'm really fascinated by this process of, alternates and how they get in. And I mean, what if they were in South America? I mean, obviously, I guess they would have just picked other people, but that just seems so random and luck of the draw. But I'm sure Calvin will explain. He said he would in the next episode of Unfiltered Tennis. So please, if you're listening to this, also listen to them. If you want to follow kind of like the little quirks of how alternates work in tennis and how, kind of having you have to have your bags packed, I guess, at all times, ready to go. But yeah, so that's been the doubles. Please watch more doubles. It's really fun. And I'm hoping anyway that the changes coming to the doubles game will help improve it greatly. So that's been Rome. And I think I can't end this mini pod without talking about Novak Djokovic. Because today he lost to Alejandro Tabillo of Chile in straight sets, 2 and 3 at the Rome Masters. It was the upsets of upsets. Definitely for this tournament anyway. And it just brings me, it kind of reminds me of what I talked about the last episode of the podcast. Last episode of the podcast, I made a comment saying that I would not be surprised if Novak Djokovic retired this year. I just have this feeling, just the way he's been acting, getting rid of his team, kind of just enjoying maybe the spoils too much of being an elite athlete, which it's hard for me to say enjoying the spoils too much. There's no too much. He's a veteran. He's, 36 years old. He's been playing forever. Of course, he has 24 Grand Slams. I mean, he can definitely enjoy the spoils of being an elite athlete and being the number one tennis player in the world. But I've just not felt in any way that he has the fire to win anymore, at least this year so far. I mean, I think for me, it really started with his match against Sinner at the Australian Open, which I think a lot of people have said was just weird. It's like he didn't show up on the day, and it was just odd. And then he loses to Luca Nardi third round at Indian Wells. He showed up to Miami just to hang out and do promotional work with brands. And I don't know. I think, the Olympics is really, really important to him. And I think he's going to go for it. But after that, what's next? If he goes and he plays the Olympics, what, and then what? I just have this weird inkling that he might just fade quietly into the night and just retire. I'm sure they'll do a huge thing for him in Serbia and all that stuff. And I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong. I might be reading way too much into this, but it's just something I've been thinking about pretty much since the Australian Open. And yeah, so he lost today. I mean, his first match was against Corentin Moutet, and if you know Corentin Moutet, it was quite the match. I mean, his phone was ringing. He was just, acting up a storm and all that stuff. So I didn't really put too much into that match. I would have been shocked beyond shocked if Mutet had even like challenged Djokovic even a little bit. But Alejandro Tabio has been playing well all year. He's coming off of winning a challenger. He won a tournament in New Zealand, in Auckland, I think, at the beginning of the year. I think it was at 250. So yeah, he's not a slouch. He's also the 32nd ranked player in the world. So, he's seeded in slams, for example. So that's he played a really, really great match today. So this is not to say, Djokovic didn't play well. So no, Tabio really, really brought a great game. And I think even at peak Novak, he would have challenged him to some extent. But there is a lack of je ne sais quoi that's missing, I think, right now with Novak. And who knows? We might be listening back to this podcast, in 2 years and Novak's still on tour. I'm like, well, I guess that didn't really hold up. But yeah, it's just my opinion, just what I think is maybe happening. Who knows? I mean, I'm leaving out the big little sort of Easter egg, I guess. Not really an Easter egg, but when after Novak's first match, he was signing autographs and a metal, one of those reusable water bottles fell on his head accidentally. It fell out of a fan's bag who was trying to get a signature from him, and he hit him on the head. He seemed fine. He was actually making jokes about it the next day. He came to the grounds wearing a helmet and signing autographs, and he seemed fine. He said he had medical checks that day. He kind of posted a little social media thing saying he was fine and he'd been cleared by his medical team and all of that. So I don't put too much stock in the fact that it was because he got hit in the head by a water bottle. And that's why he didn't play well today. Personally, that's just my opinion. I don't think as a number one player in the world, you would just be sort of like, giving the thumbs up if there was really something wrong. But again, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does have a concussion. I don't know. But that's it from me at the Ming Pod. We'll see you again next week. Nick will be back. We will be having a full episode dissecting all that happened in Rome, the winners, maybe not all the winners, because we will be recording on a Sunday, and that's when finals usually happen. But we'll definitely get you who the finalists will be. It'll be very interesting. The tournament is wide open now. There's no Nadal. There's no Novak. And if you knew from earlier on from listening to last week, there's also no Sinner and no Alcaraz. So wide open. French Open seems wide open. It's a really fun time, I think. Of course, I love the usuals to win, but sometimes it's nice to just get a little bit of a change. Have a great week. Enjoy the tennis. Stay tuned to our social medias to follow along with the tournament, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.